Welcome to Roddlesworth Woods, a place of serene beauty and whispered legends. 18 months ago, my inbox chimed with a tale that would chill the bones of any wanderer. A story of shadow beings lurking amongst these very trees. And as fate itself was weaving a web of intrigue, another soul reached out, independent of the first, to share their harrowing encounter with the same mysterious entity. Join me as we delve into the heart of these woods and the stories that haunt them. In the height of summer in 2022, on a day when the sun graced the earth with its warm embrace, two friends sought adventure in the heart of Roddlesworth Woods. They pitched their tent amidst the dense embrace of the trees, expecting a night of fun and laughter under the stars. But as dusk fell and the woods whispered secrets in the wind, an eerie chill descended upon their camp. From the shadowy veil between the pines, two figures emerged, not of flesh and bone, but of darkness itself. These shadow beings danced a sinister ballet, flitting from tree to tree, their forms barely discernible, yet unmistakably present. The campers watched, frozen in a mixture of fear and disbelief, as these apparitions toyed with their senses, sowing seeds of dread with every movement. The men, once filled with excitement, now grappled with terror they could not name. With trembling hands and hearts racing like drums of war, they scrambled to gather their belongings. The forest floor became a blur beneath their feet as they fled, not daring to look back at the phantoms that haunted their retreat. Their escape was a desperate blur, a testament to the primal fear that even shadows can inspire when they breach the veil of our reality. Not 12 months later, I received another email, and this is how it read. Dear Mick, I hope this email finds you well. I recently came across your YouTube channel while searching for explanations of an unusual experience I had in Roddlesworth Woods. Your content resonated with me, and I felt compelled to share my account with you, which occurred on the 1st of April 2023. Since that day, my life has taken a significant turn. I've relocated to a new home in the city and have sold all my camping equipment. The incident has left such an impact that I've been unable to return to camping, an activity I once greatly enjoyed. On that fateful morning, I arrived at my familiar camping spot around 11 AM and prepared for a day in nature. After setting up camp and cooking lunch over a fire, I took a leisurely walk around the reservoir. Returning around 3 PM, I settled in to relax by the fire as the air grew cooler. However, the tranquility was short-lived. While gathering wood, I noticed a sudden movement in the periphery of my vision, accompanied by the sound of rustling bushes. Initially, I dismissed it as an animal, but the subsequent snapping of branches and the sight of a dark, swaying figure beside a tree sent chills down my spine. The figure's swift, elusive movements and its disappearance from view left me in a state of terror. In haste, I abandoned my tent and fled towards my van, sensing the presence of this entity following me. It wasn't until I was close enough to hear the traffic that I dared to look back, only to realise the figure was much closer than I had anticipated. The sight was indescribable, a human-like silhouette, yet shrouded in black and partially transparent. I scoured the internet for answers, stumbling upon terms like Shadow Man and Art Man, but nothing quite fits what I witnessed. This encounter has profoundly altered my perspective on the unexplained, transforming me from a skeptic to someone who now harbours a cautious wariness, even in the wooded areas of the park near my new urban residence. I'm eager to hear your thoughts, or if you come across similar experiences in your research. Warm regards, David. I'm in the actual area now, where he was camped up. So I'm just going to walk around and just look and walk, really, to see whether the camera picks anything up around me while I'm walking. I'm off on a path. This is where the path here, where it's quite muddy, and he has mentioned this whilst I've spoken to him about it's the part where it's very muddy on the path, and it's quite open over there behind me, and a good hiding place for tents. Nobody really notices if there's anyone camping in that area. Now as we come along here, I'll try and find a decent way how to get across here, because it is really muddy. It's I don't know if you that's it. It's quite muddy, and there's all little paths around what I can use to get around that. But as you can see, he was here camping, and behind me there was a tent in there. If there's a tent there now, I won't be able to see it because it'll be hidden within these ferns. But I'm going to just walk the path and listen out for any noise that might distract me, so I can have a look over. It's strange that it should be here, because this is one of the areas where I've had other reports of different things happening around here. Not far through these woods here. You can see these pines. Now I've mentioned it many times before that I've bumped into some wild campers who said they were camping one evening, and these lights went over the canopy and there was no noise. It just went over and headed off towards the area of Winter Hill, which is in that direction behind me. So I know I'm sticking to a path, but I will eventually, I'm going to follow this path round and then follow it back through the woods to get back to where the car is. So these shadow beings, what are they? What could they be? Now my understanding of these is that maybe these things have been here a long time. These things are here naturally, you know, and it's us invading their space when we come to places like that. Are they the spirits of these areas? Or are they what the Muslims would call jinn? You know, because the explanation when people talk about seeing these shadow beings is that some of them are transparent and black. Some of them are wavy in form, like smoke. And these are the same things that they talk about when mentioning the jinn. Is this the same entities that are in our woods? Because they want to be away from human society, and then when we invade their areas, this is when they're showing themselves. Are they showing themselves to say, you know, this is my area, leave? You know, because I know, you know, these people who've experienced these within these woods, they've seen them, and then they've disappeared. And, you know, they've soon grabbed all the stuff and gone, because it's put the fear of God in them. You know, we know that these beings, when they talk about them in the Middle East, they were here before even humans were even conceived in to be on this planet. So when we do talk about spirits and entities and unusual things that happen within this area of woodland, they seem to be all saying the same thing, that they're flitting in between the trees. They're watching them, actually watching them while they're camping, or some while they're walking, you know, following them up to the point near the road. But when they get to the road, they're nowhere around. So can they not move out of this area? You know, do they have to be in these woods? Because when you think about it, these woods and the moors as they are at the moment, how they're all bleak and there's hardly any trees there. At one time, they would have been covered in woods like this. There would have been great forest going from one side of England to the other. So what we're in now is only a teeny bit of that. This one I'm in now, which is called Roddlesworth, it stretches from here, just where we came in, all the way over to Blackburn. So we're talking a good 5 or 6 miles if I were to stay on this track and walk all the way. It'll just put me at the point just outside of Blackburn. So it's a large wooded area. Not quite a forest, but it's big enough to nearly get there. But I've not seen anything. I've not seen any movements out of the corner of my eye. Is it because I'm expecting it? And I'm not going to see it, because this is what I'm looking for. Because it seems to sneak up on people who are least expecting these things to be around. And I've actually come down to the darkest parts of the woods, near the river. It's almost in a valley, quite tall on one side there and taller on the other side. So with these entities you can talk about things like the Slender Man, whether that could be a jinn, you know, a thought form really, you know, the Hat Man. And we've got these entities, these shadow beings, and they're a similar thing to what a jinn will be, you know, because they do the same thing. They tend to go with a puff of smoke. They don't have form, which is what they talk about with the jinn. You hear tales from the Middle East of people seeing these jinns in the desert and them being a form of smokeless fire. Now, we know that they don't like being close to humanity. They tend to keep themselves away from humanity. There's all possibilities what these entities could be. Now, before I got the reports, I've never heard of any shadow beings around this area. And we've been out plenty of times within this area, and we've camped ourselves out here. We've never experienced that, but we've experienced the feeling of being watched. Most people get the feeling of being watched when they're in a wooded area. And is that due to all the trees and the denseness around? That just makes you feel as though you're being watched? Or are we genuinely being watched by something within all these trees around? I don't know. There's all possibilities of what these things could be. Are they like tulpas, where this being an ancient land, the peoples here before us, did they worship in a certain way that when they laid the dead to rest, that they would leave a thought form behind to look after that area and to look after the dead spirit of that person, or the land around where that person was buried, and they're there and we see them every so often. There's people who don't see these things. There's people out there who don't have experiences. And is that because they're very closed-minded, you know, the closed-mindedness of them, and they just don't feel a connection to the land when they're walking through it, or even the connection to places, that's so-called hauntings around places. Now I've always been open-minded. And I like to think all sorts of, or I get lots of ideas of what all these things could be. There's sometimes so many ideas, and I think on the possibility of them ideas. I've not realised, but we've actually come along a path which I spoken to a witness quite a while ago along this path, who'd come across some leprechaun type being that was almost transparent itself, but he could see it wearing claws. Now, was he seeing it that way because that's how it wanted to represent itself to him as being? We don't know. There's all sorts of things to think about here. In fact, I'm at a nice spot while I'm here, and I'm going to sit down because I'm right next to the reservoir mouth, and there's a bench here, so I'm going to sit down a minute and show you the area of where I am. So this is where I'm going to sit and look out to that. I sit and contemplate on the ideas of what I'm thinking about when it comes to these entities, shadow people, or whatever you want to call them. We just give them names to what we think they might be called because that's how we perceive them, and that's how we give them names. I mean, before the Muslims came along and called them the jinn, what was the name before that? That was a nice rest, nice and peaceful, sitting there and just looking out into the water. So what I'm going to do now is make my way back, but go to the woods where the fella was camping. I'm going to have a look round within them woods and maybe stand around and see if I experience anything. See if these things are going to show themselves to me. Probably not. But yeah, again, if I think that, then I'm not going to see anything. But I've got equipment with me, recording equipment. I don't think they will show themselves because of that. The experiment to do really is to come back without any equipment and see what happens then. Or maybe coming out camping on my own without any equipment just to see if anything happens. Be quite interesting to do that actually. Just to see if anything would show itself. Which I don't know how I'd feel about that. Do I try communicating with these things if that's the case? And then to be here on my own and have an experience like that. But they have been known to show themselves to two people, as you've heard at the beginning of the video. So maybe come here with someone else and see if we both get an experience without our equipment. Would be quite interesting. See if anything did happen. Now this is the area he was camping in when he was on his own, and he got spooked and chased off in a way by these things. What I'm going to do is just walk around the area, maybe sit around the area at some place and just listen out. So I'm going to turn the camera around and just walk around, so if I miss anything and you spot anything, just get in touch, put a comment below this video, and yeah, I'll just loop round and turn you round, maybe say a few words as we're walking around. So I believe that is the area he was actually camping in. And these are the trees he was coming back to get back to his van, where it was every so often when he was turning around it was flitting between tree and tree, and that's a line of trees he was travelling through. So we're going to walk through in that direction. Now I could hear that then. Not sure what it was, but it was coming in that direction there. But I don't know. So what I'm going to do is actually walk this way, and I'll keep swinging it around as I'm walking. So yeah, if you see anything that I don't see, comment below. So you can hear the twigs snapping as I'm walking on them. And I see there are a lot of deer prints within here. And you can imagine how terrified he must have been running through this area, trying to keep hold of his stuff, leaving that tent behind, which is no evidence of it now. Lots of evidence here where I'm walking of deer scraping on the floor. I can actually hear the road as I'm getting closer to it. But we've got to go this way. Yeah, so I come to a wall I'm just going over. He did, when I was speaking to him, he did mention that little bit of a wall I've just gone over. So there are lots of places where we could hide around here. I think he probably would have been going a lot faster than what I'm going now to get out of here. In fact, I think this might have been the path he's talking about that he ran along, or walked pretty quick along. And there's a lot of ferns around here. There could be anything hiding in here. I hope I don't startle something. That startles me. Another bit of a wall here. Climb over it this way. Oh. There's a lovely smell of fresh pine around here from all these. And the ground is so soft. I can imagine it being very comfortable in a tent here. So that path you were talking about, I think I've lost it. Coming this way, but it doesn't matter. I want to be in the thick of it. I've already had this experience. In fact, if you look just in front there, you can see a line where that's a game trail. So I'm going to walk along there to get into the thickness of the woods beyond. Right, so I'm going to come off this grass because it's very wet and go this way. Walk through these woods. He says he came this way and then came to like a stream, and I think it's the stream I crossed on the way in to here. So once I get to that, I know I'm on the right path. Yeah, I believe it's just here. Yeah, this is it. So he got to this dip here, and at this point he didn't know where to cross, but there is a crossing just there. So he did say when he got to this point here, crossing this here, he stopped and he looped around, and in that direction there he saw it moving from tree to tree and getting closer, and that's when he really ran. So at the moment you're walking that distance with me until I get to the main road, which you can hear getting really close now. So it's not quite dark, and he would have had probably as much light as I've got, maybe a little bit darker, and he would have been terrified running along here, having that sense of something following him, and actually not only the sense of something following him, but knowing that there's something that's unrecognisable to anyone. So I've run now, or should I say I walked, and the path just behind me down there. So as I'm walking on this path, these things could have been following through these trees, or this thing, because we don't really know how many there are. In places it's a bit muddy, so you would have found it difficult concentrating on running, concentrating on something running behind him, and not knowing whether he was going to get out of here alive after seeing something like that. Well, it has stopped him from ever camping, and I know he did say he would never come out doing anything like this ever again, even walking through woods. He would never come out. So this is a point where he got to, where he was close to the road and he could see his van. You can see the car there through behind this tree. And this is where he said he felt safe enough to stop and turn around. And that's when he saw it closer than what he expected it to be there. So yeah, he would have been about here. And as he turned round, there it was, so close behind him. So I'm going to get back off home now, and keep coming up here and trying this out. Just walking around this area and seeing what happens to me, and get the rest of the team up here, and we can have a look around one evening as well. We'll do it at different times. At the moment it's late afternoon, so we'll do it in the night, we'll do it early in the morning, and we'll just keep trying and see whether any of us get any experiences of this happening to us. So thanks for coming along and walking around with us, and I'll see you again. Don't forget, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe, like, comment and share around your social media platforms. Thanks again.